Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Better on Draft, episode 355. We had a last-minute technical difficulty, so we will not be interviewing Go Brewing this week, but we are hoping to reschedule them in the near future. Let's go around the room to me and Wendy.
And I knew you were coming to me first, man.
Yeah, sorry, Wendy. Hope you're ready.
I am, actually, in honor of our latest loss in the beer industry. I am drinking the Ascension Brewing Company Katze. They're a German Pilsner. I'm not even going to try to say the other word that's on that can.
Excellent. I'd love to hear more about them. I don't think I've ever been, so maybe you can fill me in on Ascension.
Absolutely.
Later. I am drinking a Rainbow Road from Black Dog Brewing. They are down the road from me in a little town called Mooresville, and I first stopped into their place after going to a golf course that is also a boat repair shop.
In Indiana, you have a golf course and a boat repair shop.
Yes, it sounds so Indiana, doesn't it?
Is there a lot of lakes near you?
I'm not sure what size boats they repair.
Okay.
There's some. Definitely not Michigan style, but there's some.
Oh, that's awesome. Just wondering.
Yeah. So, Ascension Brewing is closing?
Yes, it was kind of a shock. A lot of people were very surprised by it. I was really bummed because I had my grandma this weekend, so I did not get the chance to go out to tip one back one more time. It's one of my favorite breweries personally. Like, it's one of the few mug clubs that I still own and that I keep up to date. And I think it's funny every year when their anniversary comes up, the first time I visited them shows up in my memories. And it was like, some interesting beer here. Can't wait to see what they can do. I think there's a lot of potential. And then 5 years later, I'm driving an hour to stand in line to pick up beer.
So they had potential.
Yeah, they had potential right from the beginning. They were one of those, I believe that they opened and they sold out of beer like the first 2 days. So they had to close for a little bit to restock their beer and then reopen.
Yeah, that's a tough problem to have.
Right?
Huh. Well, interesting. It's unfortunate, especially when the better breweries end up closing.
I know. It seems like that wasn't one of the ones that was on my radar that I thought might be in trouble. But you never know what happened. There's a lot of different things that can cause businesses to close their doors. So I don't know that we'll ever really know the full story. But I do wish them the best of luck because I know that they have some pretty talented staff there.
Yeah. Whatever they're doing next, good luck to them. Well, it's going to be an interesting show. We had a guest lined up, so we didn't do the same type of preparation we would when we don't have a guest lined up. But we've got a couple things ready to go. Wendy, you were recently on a cruise. Would you like to talk about that and the beers?
I did. I actually had a very interesting, I took a 10-day vacation. I did a conference in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which, the beer there that I had was very delicious. I only got the chance to go to a couple of breweries, but we went to one brewery that was completely gluten-free, which made my gluten-free friends that were with me very happy. They tried like every beer they could. It was pretty funny because normally you don't see them doing that. But that beer was very good. And then we went over to this Belgian brewery. I have to look up the name real quick. That's horrible.
while you're doing that, the one thing I learned when I went to Tulsa, or the first thing I learned when I went to Tulsa, the people who were I was working with, they said, just don't spell it backwards. And that's the thing that has stuck with me ever since. I also learned that in Tulsa, Oklahoma, is the center of the universe. I don't know if you got to visit the center of the universe, but it is there in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I did not. There is a lot of really cool things to do there. Like they've got the Route 66 stuff. There's a whole bunch of different things like that. I had friends that got to go and do that. There's also the Outsiders Museum, which is where they filmed part of the Outsiders movie.
Okay. Did
So
it take place anywhere specific like that in the book, or just they filmed the part of the movie
I
there?
honestly don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think it was like in some town in the Midwest like that, or some town like that.
Okay.
So it was in a smaller town though, not like Tulsa. Tulsa's fairly large.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will tell you about Tulsa that completely shocked me is we went and got tattoos, and the place that we got tattoos was in a mall. And that mall had so many people in it. I have never seen it was like we were in the 80s again.
Yeah, it's
There
been
were
a while
so many
since
people in this
since
mall.
malls were
It-
busy.
Yeah, I mean it was crazy. I was like, where these people like came to this mall to like hang out today. Like there was a ton of people, which I thought was really cool because we don't see that a lot here anymore. So I like to see that things like that are still going. The brewery that I wanted to talk about though in Tulsa was the Erie Abbey Ales. They had such good beer and they were dog friendly. Dogs came in while we were there that we got to pet. That was awesome. And just, I had one of almost everything and we all ended up bringing 2 4-packs home because it was so good that we wanted to drink it later that night, even though we had free alcohol offered to us at the conference we were at. So if that tells you how good it was, because none of us could bring it home with us because we were flying.
Right. So you got 2 4-packs to bring home. Did you fly them home, or?
No, we drank them that night.
Oh, okay. Excellent. To bring to your temporary home there in Tulsa.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, because I left Tulsa and I went to Florida to do the cruise. We went to the Bahamas. We did Nassau and one day at the Royal Caribbean island, Coco Cay. They call it Coco Cay on the boat, but if you talk to the people in the Bahamas, they call it Coco Key. So it depends on who you're talking to, what the name is.
Yes.
But I did get to visit a brewery that was woman owned in the Bahamas that was not there the last time I was there. It was called Riptide Brewing. The beer was fantastic. It was a nice, airy place. It took me a good 10 to 15 minutes to walk there in the 98-degree Bahamian sun, which was, by the time I got there, I was all red-faced and sweat pouring down everywhere.
And ready for a beer.
So it was really nice to have their beer because it was all very light and refreshing. And like one of the beers she made with fruit from her backyard. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Nice. Did they serve it in a frozen mug with ice in the mug?
They did not. There was no frozen mugs, which was very helpful.
Yeah.
But it was nice and cold and very refreshing. I was really impressed with the amount of people that were coming in too, because it is kind of off the beaten path. The taxi drivers didn't want to take me there because they thought they were going to get lost, which is why I did the 15-minute walk in the 98-degree heat. But if you are going and you're in Nassau and you want to go to Riptide and you don't want to do the walk on your own, ask them to take you to the rum cake factory because it's right around the corner. So I learned the tip.
Pretty good too.
Right. Well, and there was a little bar right next to the rum cake factory that was open air, and they were very friendly there. Somebody from there actually drove me back to the port, so I didn't have to take a taxi.
Please tell me it was a rum bar.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
there was rum. I mean, it wasn't just rum, but it was a lot of rum.
Yeah.
So they made me a very delicious Bahama Mama to drink while I was trying to decide if I was going to walk or take a taxi back to the port. And no, you know me, I made friends, so I got a ride.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But yeah, that Riptide, I'm hoping to get them on the show. I'm going to reach out and get them scheduled because I just think it's a fascinating story. And
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be interested to hear what the regular scene would be like in a place that close to the port, but not that close to the port, you know? So that I bet they'd be very interested to talk to.
yes, so while I was there, her original partner actually wrote a book about opening the brewery in the Bahamas. So I have that book to read, and I will get some information on a review on that out there too.
Cool. Excellent.
So other than that, like the beer on the ship was pretty good, decent. There was a good selection. The Leffe Blonde is always a good choice. I actually made friends with somebody at the pub trivia because he ordered that, and I was like, good beer. And he's like, oh yes. And he told me about his time in the Netherlands, that he lived in the Netherlands. So he was very fond of Belgian beers.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. And we just talked to a Belgian inspired brewery last week, the Brewery Vivant. I was just re-listening to that one to publish the podcast. So yeah, it's a good Belgian theme.
Yes. So that was about it for my travels this time. There was the two breweries that really stood out, and I mean, nothing fancy on the cruise. There's a lot of alcohol that gets put around on there. Not necessarily a beer thing.
Yeah, I've never done a cruise. I think a beer cruise would be interesting. That might be something I'd be interested in. I've done like an all-inclusive resort before, a couple of those, and the beer is never something to go for.
I went to an all-inclusive in the Dominican, and somebody asked them for a Corona, and they said, oh yeah, we've got one on tap in the back. And they went back, and I came when they brought that beer out, I was like, that's a Presidente, right?
Right.
It's not a Corona.
Right.
They only had one beer option. That was it.
Yeah, Presidente. I drank
But,
a little bit of Presidente. I also did Dominican, and I drank a little Presidente and then a whole lot of mixed drinks.
yes. True story. Well, we drank a lot of Prosecco in the Dominican. We also, the Norwegian cruise lines have an actual craft beer bar on their boats. At least the one class size that I've been on. They have a craft beer bar, and they do beer tastings too, which was really cool because when we went to Alaska, they did an Alaskan beer. Like, they talked a lot about Alaskan brewing and different Alaskan beers.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be a fun way to do the destination, especially for beer tourists like ourselves.
True story.
So speaking of beer tourists, a friend of mine did one of those cheap multi-segment flights to maintain status for the year, and the cheap destination that he found was Indianapolis, which happens to be my backyard. So he flew in. He was going to be in town for I think it was 7 hours, something like that, and I gave him an itinerary of breweries that should have kept him busy for that long, and biked down to meet him. So it's about an hour and 30-minute bike ride for me from my house to get to downtown, depending on which side he was on. He was on the far side. I met up with him at Chillywater, but he started at Upland, and I should say he collects beers for Untapped, a lot of beers for Untapped. I can't remember what his count is of uniques, but it's pretty high up there. And so at Upland, he tried everything that was new to him, which was almost everything. I guess he had a couple beers there before, and then walked to Chillywater. And this is a good itinerary for anybody else who's coming to Indianapolis. But he walked to Chillywater, which is maybe a 10-minute walk. It happened to be a beautiful day. That's where I met him, was at Chillywater. He got a couple flights. I got a couple of the canned beers that were on the list because you couldn't get those in flights. Also, I just happened to pick a canned beer to start because it was their Oktoberfest and I wanted to try it. So that's what I got to drink. And he said, "Oh, great. Can I have some of that? Because it wasn't available in the tasting flight because it's in a can." So I got the second can as well. And then we moved on to Metazoa, which is about another 10-minute walk from Chillywater. At this point, I'm walking my bike. And Metazoa, for people who haven't been there, they probably have, I'd say, 18 to 24 beers on tap at any time. So he was pretty happy about that. And they do flights. Now they just do flights of up to 8. They used to, I swear they used to do up to 12. And each of their flight trays is cut like an animal, a different animal. So he got, I can't remember what the first animal was. One of them was a rhinoceros head, and it was pretty neat. It had like a horn on it, and then it had a bunch of holes in the head for the, the flight glasses. So we had some beers there. He got a couple flights. That was a lot of ticks. And then we walked the less than 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes to Sun King from there. And as we're walking up to Sun King, some friends shouted, "Hey, Rob," because they were sitting out on the Sun King patio and they saw me walking up. And so they hung out with us for the rest of the trip. Sun King, we were there on a Saturday, and on Saturdays they do a mystery flight, which is half the price of a regular flight. Your bartenders will pick their beers. They did admit that one of them was because they had a lot of that beer, and one of them was because that keg was going to kick pretty soon. But I don't remember what the other two. I don't know what the rhyme or reason for the other two was, but they were solid choices. Since he had had no beers at that place before, it made sense for him to get the mystery flight. So he saved a few bucks there. Got another flight. They do 4 beer flights at Sun King. So then now there were 4 of us. And my friends were still sober enough to drive, so they drove us to the next place, which we chose Taxman to get some food.
Oh, I'm
and
jealous.
to get some beers. So yeah, he got a couple tasters there. We had a bunch of food. They had Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts. The baked ones and all that. Oh, so good. And we got some other stuff too, but yeah, in the end, he made it back to the airport fine on time. Those were the only breweries that we managed to get to. The itinerary continues on from there. It would have been St. Joseph and Center Point, and then there's a few other spots in between there, depending on how the timing is working out. So if anybody ever wants to do a walking tour of downtown Indianapolis, that is certainly one route that you can go. And yeah, he made it back, and he reported back, I think he got 77 ticks during that day.
So
maybe
when
66.
he does this,
Yes.
is he, even if he takes a sip of yours, he checks it in?
Yeah, so I would estimate he's drinking at least 2 ounces before he checks it in. And we have discussed the beers at various times through it. And I didn't drink all the beers that he had for obvious reasons. I had to bike home. He was just Ubering to an airport where they would fly him. You only have to be sober enough to get onto the plane. And so I was not trying to keep pace with him or anything, but he was drinking a lot of beers that I know and know well, especially at Taxman at the end there. And so, yeah, we would still talk about the flavors in there, and he was picking them out before I was prompting him. So he seemed to be tasting the beers. I wasn't like quizzing him, but I mean, he was there for beer and to taste beer and enjoy it. He was still enjoying it as far as I could tell. So, yeah, he was not finishing his flights, which I'm not judging him for that either.
No,
because he wasn't there to finish the flights. He was there to try all the beers.
right.
So, and a long story is still long. I think I've got him convinced to come back in February to go to Winterfest when we have something like 80 Indiana breweries all in one building, all pouring their beers. So I think that got him excited. It'll be a bunch of breweries that don't distribute outside of Indiana.
Speaking of beer festivals, did you ever figure out if you were going to be able to make it to the Michigan Summer or Fall Beer Festival?
I don't think I am, because I'm worried about the Sunday, but we'll see. We'll see. I haven't committed either way. I guess I should probably look at tickets and make sure there's still tickets
Yes,
available.
they are still selling tickets. I just got a reminder to purchase my ticket the other day, or yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
There was another question that I had for you. Oh, Taxman.
Yes.
Are they still doing the death and taxes?
They do. That's in April. It's
Obviously.
after. Well, it used to be after tax day, so the
Yes.
day the returns are due.
Yep.
I'm not sure if they are still strict with that or not. Yeah, but yes, it'll be in April. They did one last year. They brought it back because they took COVID off.
Yeah, obviously. I just wanted to make sure they brought it back because I missed it before COVID when my friends went.
Yeah.
There was something else going on that weekend, so I'd really like to go to that festival.
Yeah, I
Event,
hear it's a good one. I've
festival,
never
whatever it's
been.
called.
The beer is not called Death and Taxes anymore. I do not remember what it is called now. It's on its third name. They got a cease and desist for Death and Taxes. They got a cease and desist for whatever came after it. And the current one seems to be holding up. But the third one stayed up.
There is a Death and Taxes Day, 4/26/25.
Okay, so they've already got the date out there and everything.
4/25/26. That's funny. I found it's 4/26/25, but it says save the date 4/25/26.
Oh, that's funny.
On the date.
They're ready. They're 2 years ahead. They're planning.
Right.
Do they say the new name of the beer?
I'm looking to see.
Okay. Yeah, I wish I could remember what the second name was because I quite liked it. The upshot of them changing the names was that they partner with a local liquor chain called Big Red. They're all over Indiana, and Big Red had these pallets of whatever the second name one was, hugely discounted because they got the cease and desist and couldn't use the name anymore, so they had to get rid of all the inventory. So we were drinking that delicious barrel aged Belgian stout for well, it wasn't like dirt cheap, but it was cheap for the beer that it is.
It doesn't say the name of the beer here.
Yeah, it's I really wish I could remember the name of that beer, but
I do know that it was a really good beer. It is a good beer.
Yeah, it is the same beer.
I've had a couple different years now, but I love it.
The COVID year, a buddy and I, they did the online orders thing, and we drove down and they filled the trunk with beer, and then we drove home. So that was pretty nice.
I kind of miss that part of COVID where you could just go grab a bunch of beer and then go home and chill out.
Yeah, I did that for Dark Lord too. Drove up to Munster. That one's more like a 2.5-3 hour drive to get up there, but yeah, drove up there, picked up my allotment and my buddy's allotment of Dark Lord, drove it home. I think that was the year.
Never had Dark Lord. It's one of my bucket list beers.
Maybe I'll bring some up on Friday. That was one. I think that was the year I got a marshmallow hangy in the allotment. I was pretty excited about that.
I don't know what that is.
It's one of the variants. It's got
Okay.
marshmallow in it.
That
Yes,
makes sense.
go figure. The other great Dark Lord experience I had, the local place, they started doing tap takeovers to churn kegs really quick because he needed cash fast type of a thing, pay off a bunch of those COVID based loans to stay open type of situation. So I think he's doing better now, but he's still doing the tap takeovers, and I'm for that. But he did a Three Floyds one, and he had several kegs of Three Floyds beer on tap, which is always a good thing, always a dangerous thing. But then, as we were sitting there drinking various beers, he started pouring Dark Lord for us. Just I can't even remember what variant it was, but it was it was a really fancy one from that year that was not on tap because they don't do kegs of that.
Right.
So that was pretty exciting.
It's always fun when things like that happen. I was kind of hoping something like that would happen when I went to Toppling Goliath, but it did not.
Ah,
Sadly,
you
I
hinted a
still have to
bunch.
make it out there. Yeah. He wouldn't let me stay in the um
The
I can't even
barrel
think of the
room.
name of it, in the barrel room by myself. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm just watching where your hands are. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna take a whole barrel with me without him noticing.
Yeah. Or well, he thinks you might have brought a barrel thief with you or something. So you can just get in there and get a taste of whatever's brewing. Yeah. That was one beer bus that did happen for us where the brewery was so excited to have a beer bus that stopped by. Because they're really out in the middle of nowhere. They're actually kind of near Taxman in Bargersville, um, where the guy he said, "Yeah, this beer isn't quite ready yet, but here you can try some of this that I'm barreling right now. It'll be ready in a few more weeks." So that was fun. I think I've run out of recent beer stories, though.
Yeah, I don't know that I have any recently. Life's a little slower right now for me as far as going out and getting to try all the new stuff that I used to.
Yeah, I don't get out much. It was nice that I had a friend come to town and kind of force me to get downtown and drink a bunch of beers and visit some breweries I hadn't visited for a while. That was very nice. I did stop at Daredevil on the way on the bike ride home, and had a pizza and a beer there. So that's always fun too. They do good German style beer. They usually have a smoked beer on tap, and they did not disappoint.
I've been having a lot of fun watching all the friends from Michigan who are at GABF right now. That's been interesting. You got a lot of people from Indianapolis that
Uh, if I do, I didn't notice. Yeah, it's one of those things I would love to go. I don't know that I want to watch all my friends drinking there, but yeah, I have seen the Untapped feed.
I'm living vicariously through my friends that are getting to go to all the things that I want to do. So I pay attention when they post on Facebook where they're at and what they're drinking and who they're seeing. So I really like it personally.
Yeah, I do
So
look
I do
forward
pay
to.
attention.
I do look forward to catching up with them afterward to find out, how it all went and
Yeah.
what they enjoyed, what was fun, how it is now that it's the beverage festival.
Yeah, I've heard really positive things from everybody that's there right now that they really are having a good time and that it's not crazy. Of course, there's a lot of people that are still talking about the fact that the Michigan Brewers Guild festivals, the MLCC here still requires us to use tokens at our festivals. So um, maybe that'll be a good push that enough people were there and talking about it to try to get that corrected for real this time.
Yeah, is that a legal thing there or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a requirement by the MLCC. There was a law that was passed a few years ago, but there was something in the way that it was worded that it didn't actually stop them from having to use tokens.
Yeah.
So, which is a
It's
bummer. Hopefully one day we'll live in a token-free beer festival world.
right. I'm sure the tokens are serving some sort of purpose. The token manufacturers would have nothing else to do, I guess.
Right? I don't
Yeah.
know.
We the beer festivals here, by and large at least, do not require such things. There was one I went to. It was there's a group here. They do the Indiana Tasting Society Marketplace, I think is their name, and they do coupons, because it gets around some legal requirements. So I would join them for a few years and do the coupons, and which are good for free beers or free swag at various breweries, and that's a lot of fun until you have plenty of free swag. But it's still worth checking out, especially to people new to Indiana or who didn't know that this was a possibility or who need swag. But they would, part of the best part of it was that they would invite you to events, and one of the events that they would host was a homebrewers tasting thing. So there's a few homebrewers group around Indianapolis, the Foam Blowers, and I can't remember who the other ones are, but they would get like a WeWork type of a space and set up a bunch of kegs there, and somehow they all had a bottoms up system. So the one that fills the bottles or the glasses from the bottom at a preset limit. So it's kind of, I'm going to say, idiot proof to get the things filled properly into the acceptable levels. But that one we did have to use tokens at. And I wonder if it just has to do with kind of how it all came together and what it all was, and making sure that we were all responsible. Whether the tokens were taken or not, that kind of depended, because these were all just homebrewers who know how beer festivals work.
Right. One of my favorite parts about Great Taste is the homebrewers tent. I had a really good time. I spent quite a few hours in that tent when I went.
I'm sure I've told the story before, but I love it, where I got to pour at a festival. There's a one up here. It would have been a few weeks ago. I didn't see the news for it go by, but it would be about half professional brewers, half home brewers. And all the home brewers are on the inside tents, and then around the outside perimeter are all the professional brewers with their pouring and things. But we all have the same like lounge area that we can go to and get some food and take a break and all that. So it would be fun. You just sit at a table and there's some brewers that you may or may not know, but they're from the area, and you chat with them, at mealtime. And yeah, it was a good time. I did not win the People's Choice Awards though, because I didn't put stuff in my beer.
Like glitter?
Yeah, well, I'm sure there was a glitter. The guy next to me had a bubblegum IPA. I think it was an IPA that he had brewed with Hubba Bubba bubblegum, and it tasted like it. And there was the winner was some chocolatey, coffee.
So you mean like thing. Stuff actually in the beer, not something that they put in the beer when they served it.
Right. No.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yes.
I'm like, what kind of stuff are they putting in their beer? Because
Yeah, glitter. That's also fun. Just a little glitter. I think it's the edible kind. I don't know. We'll find out.
I hope so.
It's all edible. It'll go in.
Where was I recently that we just had a very long conversation about glitter and beer? I don't know. It'll come back to me.
There's a few of them out there. Is it Dewclaw, or that makes the sour unicorn farts? Those
are
pretty good.
I didn't feel like mine was glittery enough, though.
No,
if you're gonna sell me on a glitter beer, there should be some serious sparkle to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, but if you like those fruity, milkshakey sours, then it certainly lives up to that part.
That's true. Yeah, Dewclaw does some pretty good beers. So
as I drink a fruity, creamy sour right now.
Oh, I am drinking a straight up hoppy Pilsner, man. Yeah. It's not happy, but it's definitely got the bitterness to it.
Yeah, this is described as a rainbow sherbet sour. So, yep, good stuff. It's got a dog on
it. I tend to pick beer sometimes by what's on the can.
Yeah.
I won't lie.
If there's a lot of beers out there to choose, you need a method.
Right. You just got to catch your eye somehow.
Uh-huh. Well, our guest we couldn't get our guest on in time. I had some difficulties with that. I think we did okay. we got to hear about your Bahamas trip. We got to hear about my friend's trip to
77
Indianapolis.
beers in an afternoon. That
Yeah,
was
it's pretty good day for him.
that's I need to go with him next time. You need to tell him to come and stop in Detroit so that we can take him out so that I can check in some beers because I'm almost I don't remember. I'm almost at the next level on Untapped, but
Oh,
I'm like
nice.
I think like 1,000 away or something like that. And I'm like,
Oh,
I'm never going to get there at this rate.
yeah, that's a relative almost, isn't it? You're most of the way there but now the steps are so huge.
Oh, I'm at 4,483 individual check-ins.
Yeah, it's got to be
Individual
Uniques.
beers.
Uniques is
So
the
I'm
one.
600 away. Just under 600. Just over 500 away from the 5,000 check-ins. My problem is that I forget to check them in all the time.
Yeah. No, it's got to be unique check-ins. So it's not
That
just
is
check-ins.
my unique check-ins.
Okay, that is your unique check-ins.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep, I know the difference between the two.
Yeah.
They
Excellent.
I tend not to check them in again once I've had it the first time unless it's been a long time because I don't want to spend my time checking stuff in. I'd rather be hanging out.
Yes, it is very situational for me as well. I wouldn't do it if it's going to detract from whatever else I'm doing, anything else, whether it's playing video games or hanging out with friends. But if it's a first time drinking the beer, I'll probably check it in.
Yeah,
maybe not the 60th in a festival, but
I've been trying to. They just because I know that I'm that close to the next level. Yeah, I've ran across somebody at a brewery one time, and they're like, "Oh, are you on Untapped?" And I said, "Yeah." And he went and looked me up on Untapped, and he was like, "Because I didn't have nearly enough check-ins." I'm like, "If you'd only know how many I haven't checked in."
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird metric to use.
Yes.
For a long time, the brewery near me that closed that I missed dearly pretty much every week. I would probably miss it less if I would stop wearing their shirts. If their shirts were out of rotation, I wouldn't think of them as often, but I still do. I would take some of their beer with me on some of my trips. So I have check-ins of their beer in all sorts of countries that they definitely do not distribute to. But for those, I'd get pictures and send them back to the brewery and put
So you
stickers on
just
things.
bring your own beer when you travel for work?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Because you don't know if you're going to get good beer?
The last few times I brought beer, one was that one brewery. I would take pictures of their beer in weird places. Like I have it in the airport in Shanghai. And in a hotel near the airport in Shanghai, where you can see that it's definitely China, but otherwise it just looks like an airport. I've got picture. Oh, in like the 20th floor of a skyscraper in Japan, in Tokyo. I've got a picture of their beer, sitting in the window there that I've had, and so that sort of thing was fun. While they were there, and I hung out there a lot. Send the pictures of their beers. The last time I flew with beer was homebrew. I brought homebrew, and it was because I was working with a bunch of friends who coworkers, but friends who I know also like good beer. And I had happened to brew a dark beer, and they like dark beers, and so I brought that with me, shared it with them. That worked out well. I got a Hunapu from one of the guys who I did not know liked craft beer, but he happened to be going Hunapu Day, like one of the weekends between our trips. So he brought some back for everybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I still have that in my fridge, in fact.
That's a good friend to have.
Yes. Yeah, so it pays off.
Right.
That's why I fly with beer.
That makes sense. I'm like, you just carry your own beer with you? I usually bring my own beer to parties, so that makes sense. Because you never know what they're going to have.
Yeah. I remember one February I flew a 401 cake from Taxman out to Ireland because I needed a number to finish off the month. The timing did not work out with my flight and the previous beer I had, and so I had picked that up. I put it in my my suitcase and flew it to Ireland so I could finish out because I didn't know if I'd find a number.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I guess there are reasons to do it.
Right.
Pretty stupid most of the time, but
I need to get into those games that you play like that where you're drinking the alphabet or whatever.
Yeah, we'd be happy to have you. This month is spooky, is our theme. I had screaming spiders earlier from Sun King.
Okay.
Yeah. Counts.
All right. Well, that's about all I got today.
Okay. We will go ahead and wrap this up. Next week, there is no live show because we will be in Michigan recording live with Nick the Brewer.
Yes.
There might be more to that I'm not remembering. But I am excited because I am going to drive up for that as well. Oh, Ian from Cellarman's.
Yes.
That is the other part of it that I was missing. So that is going on. It's in person. I don't know where it is, so that'll be exciting for me.
It's at a private location.
Okay, so there won't be a bunch of people joining us.
No.
Okay. All right. And then I'm on the fence whether I will be at the Craft Beer Festival on the 19th or not. It sounds like Wendy's going.
I will be there. And I know Ken will be there.
Okay. Maybe we'll hear from Dan.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Dan was trying to come in for the Nick the Brewer episode, so
okay.
But I'm not sure if he's going to make it or not.
So, and then after that, we will be back on the 25th at our new time, 8:30 Eastern. That's a bunch of times and other times in different time zones.
Yep.
And with that, whatever you think of your beer, we think it's better on draft.
Nice. Cheers.